Hello, my name is Mike Pfaff, and this is my YouTube channel, Living in the Illusion. Well, I start off today in this video on my little patio, and in a moment I'll go around and we'll look at how my little patio has changed, and some mistakes I made and some fun I've had. And then we'll move on the inside and talk about our subject for today, which is can you understand anything that you see? Can you understand anything that you see with your physical eyes? And we'll look at that a little bit different. We'll look at that a little bit different, and actually it's the third lesson in a course in miracles. But we'll see if we can come up with a different understanding. So, out here, the sun is shining. It is nice. It is in the mid-70s. A beautiful day here in southeastern Michigan, Novi, Michigan. Now, you may recall on my patio, I have some tomato plants, and my back here, my raised garden, which is kind of wild. So this is my first year, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. Now the tomatoes that I got when they were quite small, really small. Didn't know a damn thing about tomatoes, really, except buying them in the store. But raising them, didn't have much, didn't know anything about them. So as luck would have it, I got 5 or 6 tomato plants. All but 2 of them turned out to be either cherry tomatoes or grape tomatoes. So I got a lot of little tomatoes. I didn't quite want that many. I'm going to take my glasses off because it has those automatic lenses that turn dark in the sun. And so I look kind of like a raccoon. So let's take a look at what I do have, because those little tomatoes are doing quite well. It's a little hot, so 2 of my plants that I have in containers, they need a little water. So maybe I'll do that after the video. So here, if you can see, is my outside of my little apartment. I'm also making sunshine tea on my little table, and then I'll cool it down in the refrigerator. But here is one of my little plants. I got all these little tomatoes all over the place. There's a lot of them. And these 2 plants are just going crazy, making little tomatoes. Now my sunflower took a deep dive, and my flowers are doing well, except this one. This is the one I got after 4th of July. It's having a struggle. My raised flower bed, I decided I would try to grow, and here is a garlic. I found out I started it at the wrong time of the year, and it's doing the best it can. I don't know if I'll get a bulb or not, but that's the way it is. Now here's my other ones, which I thought were going to be big tomatoes, and they turn out to be little tomatoes. But they are getting ripe, and they're turning red, and really they're quite sweet. I have 2 or 3 a day right now. This is an old style. I don't know if you can see what that looks like now, but it's a different kind of a tomato. And then I have this one here, and it's called an indigo, I think, an indigo. And I think it's going to be kind of blue or black. I don't know. And it is also giving me a lot of tomatoes. So, oh, I got to show you my cabbage. The bugs got into it, and the poor bugger, they're not doing well at all. So, anyway, that's my little garden right now. So now we're going to talk about, in a moment, our subject for today. Can you understand anything you see with your eyes? Be back in a moment. Thanks for sticking around. This video, we're going to be talking about, as I said, can you understand anything that you see? Well, in that you get the idea that we're relating to seeing, which is around the eyes, and the magnificent of the eyes. And in a moment, I'm going to bring the whiteboard in, and I'm going to draw a diagram so that we can kind of look at seeing related to the eyes, and then vision related to your understanding. Are two different things. See, the eye is a magnificent instrument, as are all your senses. And all your senses operate the same way. So we are not talking about the magnificence of the eye. We're talking about input and output. That's all we're talking about. Input and output. And from that input and output, particularly the output of the eye, can you understand anything from what comes through the eye? Very important. What goes into the eye? Data, information. What comes out of the eye, down the optic nerve, is data. There's no objects going through the eye, down the optic. No objects in the optic nerve. Only data, only information. Now, from that information, which is what the eye is doing, can you understand anything? Can you understand anything from the output of the eye? Now look closely. The output of the eye is data. Can you know anything directly from the data? Now I'm being very clear on this. All your senses are the same way. Your senses take in information from the outside energy system and convert that information into electromagnetic and chemical signals depending on what sense, what instrument you're talking about. So there is an interface on the output of all your senses, including your eye, and is that output from the eye meaningful? Is it meaningful? So if you can read electromagnetic and chemical signals, you can get information and you could have it mean something. But you can't directly. You can't know anything from the eye and what you see through the eye directly. It has to be interpreted. And that's what we're going to look at as I develop a model on my whiteboard. So that's the way we're going. Now, some of you might say, well, that's just splitting hairs. You know, whether I see with the eye or whether I see with an interpretation of the data, it's the same thing. No, it's not. No, it's not. How you interpret the data is entirely different from the original data that comes from the eye. Your interpretation process is entirely different and is based upon your unique past, which is to say your memories. So you got data coming from the eye, and then you have an interpretation of the data, which will be different from what you're getting from the outside energy system through the eye. Oh, very scientific. I don't know the science. I don't know everything about the eye. I only know it takes information in, and it gives information in the form of electromagnetic and chemical signals that go to the mind, brain, and central nervous system, and you create, not the data, you create what you think you see coming from the eye, from the outside. You are interpreting it through your filtering, perceptual filters, which are your past memories, beliefs, values, moral judgments, all kinds of stuff. In that sense, you are not seeing anything that the eye is presenting to you. An interesting concept. See you in a moment. Well, now we have our little whiteboard here with some scratching on it, and I'm going to explain in a moment. And our subject. Can you understand anything you see with the eye? Okay? Now again, I haven't put a lot on, but up here we have outside, inside. And here we have the eye. I hope it stands out for you. And coming out of the eye is the optic nerve. And the optic nerve is connected to it doesn't quite look like this, but it's connected to the lower part of the back of the eye. And somewhere around 40% of everything that's going on in the brain is set aside to look at optical information. So that's what we're starting with. And of course, all your senses are the same way, except they don't have an optic nerve. Your nose has a olfactory bulb, has two of them, and coming out of that is a line, a nerve, that goes to the brain and adds information about the current moment. The ears, they also operate and they give you a nerve out of the ear through the cochlea and the three bones and all. I don't know all that stuff. But I know there's an input to the eye and there is an output. And the output is data. So if you look at the eye, I hope that shows up real well. So I'll darken it a little bit. And that's supposed to have a lens in the front, and light comes in and gets put on the back of the eye, and then it's converted into electromagnetic impulses. So what goes down the optic nerve? Cars and balls and people and dogs. Now, nothing goes down this optic nerve but data. If you look at the optic nerve, you're not going to get a ball inside of it. You're not even going to be able to interpret the data that will create a ball. The magnificence of the brain, the optic, the nervous system, the central nervous system, and the mind, where all your memories are stored and what you operate on, is all done on the inside. There are no balls out here in the outside energy system. Now, you got to think of fields of energy. And when fields interact, they develop patterns. And I tried to show this, so you'll have to use your imagination. In those fields, those patterns are, it's like, I did another video on that. I don't remember what it was, how far it was talking about, oh, no, it was in my book, my next book. And it was about whirlpools in a river. Whirlpools in a river. Now, if you're familiar with whirlpools, or if you've ever seen one, you know that the water flows down the river, and depending on how deep it is, the temperature of the day, the terrain in the bottom of the stream, as the water flows, you develop a whirlpool. And the whirlpool stays. But none of the data stays. None of the information stays in the whirlpool. It all gets, and new comes, and it all gets, and it all flows. But the pattern stays in the river. And this is the same thing here in these fields of energy. When they interlock, when they go against each other, depending on what they are, they develop patterns. I call it disturbed energy, but they're patterns of disturbed energy. And the eye, that is the information. That's the information that it is picking up. It's picking up information by the disturbed energy that's outside of it. Now, we're thinking that it is red balls and purple cars and birds and airplanes and stuff like that. No, it's disturbed energy, and that's what the eye does. It takes the disturbed energy, focuses it, turns it into electromagnetic and chemical data, and that's what goes down the optic nerve. Data, information. Computer sciences will tell you that. Computer science says everything's data. Everything's information. We think, oh no, there's not just information. There's a ball out there, and there's a tree out there, and there's energy. Now, what happens to the energy? What happens to this data? That's what is why you can't see it. Now, recognize right now we've met our goal, because the answer to the goal is no. You cannot understand anything that the eye, that the independent eye sees. You do not understand anything that the eye sees or the information. You don't know what this data is. It is data. What does it mean? Nothing. To you directly. Nothing coming out of the eye means anything. Why is that? It's got to be interpreted. This data needs to be interpreted before it is meaningful. Now, we did another video not long ago, again, based upon, it was the first lesson in A Course in Miracles. Nothing outside of you means anything. Nothing out here means anything. You take the anything in, your eye converts it to data, and it goes into the brain, mind, central nervous system, and it gets interpreted. What is your interpreting mechanism? Your past memories, experiences, values, judgments, or whatever you want to call them. You search this data for meaningful information for you based upon your past. And then, as we talked about in many other videos, from that, you create your world. The balls in your world, the tomatoes that are in your world, your pet that is in your world. You create all that based upon your past. So I want you to look again. I drew these two lines very quickly between the outside and the inside. In that gap, are all your senses, are all your other senses. And they're doing the same thing. So coming out of this gap, which your senses fill, are 5 sets of data, each different, depending on the instrument, the sense organ that produces it. And then in here, not out here in the outside world, in here you create the world you have. Now watch this, because this is the next step that we talked about. When you create your inside world through your past, which is in the subconscious mind, your conscious mind, what you know, your conscious mind observes the inside world. I'm just looking. Maybe you can't see that. Maybe I got to pull it this way a little bit. I want to make sure you can see this over here. It's the inside world, and then your conscious mind does another unusual operation. It projects. It projects what's inside onto the outside energy system. And if the inside interpretation is a red ball when that is projected out here into the energy system. The disturbed energy pattern, depending on the data, there's your red ball. You will interpret that through your projection as your red ball in here. You'll just overlay it on this. You overlay your whole inside world on the outside energy system. And therefore, you believe that the outside energy system is your inside world. Isn't that interesting? And you believe it right down to the soles of the shoes that you're wearing. Life in the illusion is never what you think it is. So give that some thought. You cannot understand anything you see. It's third lesson in the course. Of course, it's not worded quite like that. But if you look at them, you'll get the idea. Now, I suggest that you look at the description of the video, because there are some references there, and there is more, I think, detailed data. So give that some thought, and give that some thought that nothing in the illusion that you are embedded in is exactly what you think it is. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time we get together. Bye now.